CNN. Here's a look at the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, headquartered in Brussels, Belgium. Facts. The organization's charter states that the signing parties will seek to promote stability and well-being in the North Atlantic area, and will unite their efforts for collective defense and for the preservation of peace and security. April 4, 1949 established when 12 nations signed the North Atlantic Treaty in a ceremony in Washington, D.C. 2014 present, the current Secretary-General is Jens Stoltenberg, former Prime Minister of Norway. March 31, 2021 the Secretary-General's annual report is released. 30 member countries. Albania, 2009. Belgium, 1949. Bulgaria, 2004. Canada, 1949. Croatia, 2009. Czech Republic, 1999. Denmark, 1949. Estonia, 2004. France, 1949. Germany, 1955, as West Germany. Greece, 1952. Hungary, 1999. Iceland, 1949. Italy, 1949. Latvia, 2004. Lithuania, 2004. Luxembourg, 1949. Montenegro, 2017. Netherlands, 1949. North Macedonia, 2020. Norway, 1949. Poland, 1999. Portugal, 1949. Romania, 2004. Slovakia, 2004. Slovenia, 2004. Spain, 1982. Turkey, 1952. United Kingdom, 1949. United States, 1949. Timeline, selected. April 4, 1949 The 12 nations of Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United Kingdom and the United States signed the North Atlantic Treaty in Washington, D.C. July 25, 1950 First meeting of NATO Council Deputies in London. U.S. Ambassador Charles M. Spofford is elected permanent chairman. December 19, 1950 U.S. General Dwight Eisenhower is appointed the first Supreme Allied Commander. April 2, 1951 Allied Command in Europe becomes operational with Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe in Roquencourt, near Paris. March 12, 1952 Lord Ismay is named the first Secretary-General of NATO and appointed Vice-Chairman of the North Atlantic Council. April 10, 1952 Allied Command Atlantic becomes operational, headquartered in Norfolk, Virginia. April 16, 1952 NATO establishes its provisional headquarters in Paris at the Palais de Chaillot. April 28, 1952 First meeting of the North Atlantic Council in permanent session in Paris. May 6, 1952 West Germany joins NATO. May 14, 1955 The Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc countries form the Warsaw Pact in response to West Germany joining NATO. July 26, 1956 Egypt nationalizes the Suez Canal. France and Great Britain use troops to intervene, against the wishes of the United States, causing a rift in NATO. August 13, 1961 The Berlin Wall is erected. October 22–23, 1963 NATO and the United States demonstrate the size and speed of emergency forces with 14,500 U.S. troops flown into West Germany for maneuvers. March 10, 1966 France formally announces intentions to withdraw from the military structure of NATO, accusing the United States of having too much influence in the March 31, 1967 opening ceremony of new NATO headquarters in Casteau, near Mons, Belgium. August 14, 1974 Greece, angered at NATO's response to the Turkish invasion of Cyprus, withdraws from the military arm of NATO. October 20, 1980 Greece rejoins the NATO military structure. May 30, 1982 Spain joins NATO. November 9, 1989 The Berlin Wall comes down. October 3, 1990 Germany is reunified after 45 years. With German reunification, East Germany leaves the Warsaw Pact and is incorporated into NATO. 1991 The Warsaw Pact is dissolved. December 13, 1991, for the first time, the Soviet Union takes part in meetings at NATO as part of the North Atlantic Cooperation Council. December 21, 1991, 11 of the republics of the former Soviet Union create a new Commonwealth of Independent States. December 25, 1991, the Soviet Union is officially disbanded with the resignation of Mikhail Gorbachev as President and Supreme Commander-in-Chief of Soviet. February 28, 1994, NATO forces shoot down 4 Bosnian Serb planes violating the UN-imposed no-fly zone. It is the first time NATO has used force. November 21, 1995, after the Dayton Peace Accords, the war in Bosnia-Herzegovina ends. December 20, 1995, the United Nations turns over Military Operations Command to NATO's Implementation Force, IFOR. January 13, 1996, Russian troops are deployed to support IFOR in Bosnia. May 22, 1997, NATO and the Russian Federation sign a Security and Cooperation Pact, the founding act which establishes a NATO-Russia Permanent Joint Council (PJC). March 24, 1999, NATO launches airstrikes against Yugoslavia to end Serbian aggression in the Kosovo region. April 4, 1999, 50th anniversary of the founding of NATO. August 22, 2001, Operation Essential Harvest, the disarming of ethnic Albanians in Macedonia, begins. September 12, 2001, for the first time, NATO invokes Article 5, the Washington Treaty, its Mutual Defense Clause, in support of the United States after the September 11 terror attacks. May 14, 2002, the last meeting of the NATO-Russia Permanent Joint Council. May 28, 2002, NATO and Russia form the NATO-Russia Council, NRC, which makes Russia an associate member of the organization. The NRC replaces the PJC. That was established in 1997 by the NATO-Russia Founding Act. November 21 to 22, 2002, during the Prague Summit, NATO invites 7 former Eastern Bloc countries, Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia and Slovenia, to discuss entry into the organization. December 4, 2002, U.S. Deputy Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz speaks before NATO in Brussels and requests that member nations contribute forces to a potential campaign in Iraq. January 22, 2003, France and Germany blocked discussion on war preparations submitted by the United States. The U.S. proposal included provisions for Turkey's defense, the use of NATO equipment, and NATO's post-war role in Iraq. January 23, 2003, Secretary-General Lord Robertson announces his intention to step down in December. February 10, 2003, France, Germany and Belgium block a U.S. request that NATO provide Patriot missiles, airborne warning and control system, AWACS, aircraft, and other equipment to Turkey. The United States had made the request anticipating that Iraq will retaliate against Turkey in the event of war. Turkey invokes Article IV of the NATO Charter, which requires the organization as a whole to discuss security threats to any member nation. February 11, 2003, a meeting to discuss the standoff over Turkey's defense preparations ends after 20 minutes with no resolution. February 16, 2003, NATO comes up with 3 defensive plans for Turkey, in the event of a U.S. war with Iraq. Deployment of NATO AWACS aircraft. NATO support for the deployment of theater missile defenses for Turkey. NATO support for possible deployment of Allied chemical and biological defenses. February 19, 2003, NATO deploys defensive assistance to Turkey in the form of missiles, chemical and biological defense mechanisms, and aircraft, in the event war with Iraq presses forward. January 5, 2004, Jaap de Hoop Scheffer of the Netherlands becomes the new Secretary General. March 29, 2004, NATO is expanded from 19 to 26 members when 7 nations, Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia, join in an accession ceremony in Washington, D.C. All are former communist states in Eastern Europe. April 2, 2004, first meeting of the NATO-Russian Council with 27 members. August 10, 2004 NATO AWACS begin patrolling Greek airspace prior to the Olympic and Paralympic Games. NATO's presence at the Olympics is nicknamed Distinguished Games and includes AWACS and the Multinational Chemical Biological Radiological Nuclear Task Force. September 14, 2006 Ukraine announces that it is shelving its aspirations to join NATO, due to opposition by the Ukrainian public and Russia. April 2–4, 2008 NATO leaders hold a summit in Bucharest, Romania. Croatia and Albania are invited to join the alliance. June 17, 2008 French President Nicolas Sarkozy announces France will soon rejoin NATO's military command, 40 years after it left. April 3–4, 2009 The 23rd NATO Summit also marks NATO's 60th anniversary. Events are held in Strasbourg, France and Kiel, Germany. During the summit, France joins NATO's military command. August 1, 2009 Former Danish Prime Minister Anders Fogh Rasmussen takes office as the 12th Secretary-General of NATO. November 19, 2010 NATO adopts the strategic concept Active Engagement, Modern Defense for the next 10 years. March 24, 2011 NATO takes command of enforcing a no-fly zone imposed on Libya by the United Nations. March 29, 2011 The Council of Europe rules NATO, among others, responsible for the 63 deaths from among 72 African immigrants left adrift for 2 weeks, while attempting to reach European shores from Libya in March 2011. May 19, 2012 Demonstrators take to the streets of Chicago prior to the start of the NATO summit. Anti-NATO protests near Mayor Rahm Emanuel's home focus on the cost of the summit to the city and city budget cuts to mental health care. May 20–21, 2012 The 25th summit is held in Chicago. During the summit, NATO accepts President Barack Obama's timetable to end the war in Afghanistan by March 5, 2014 In regards to the crisis in Ukraine, Secretary-General Anders Fogh Rasmussen announces that NATO has decided to put the entire range of NATO-Russia cooperation under review to send a clear message Russia's actions have consequences. October 1, 2014 Jens Stoltenberg becomes Secretary-General. December 2, 2015 NATO extends an official invitation to Montenegro to join the alliance. February 11, 2016 Secretary-General Stoltenberg announces that NATO is deploying ships to the Aegean Sea to try to deter smugglers from trafficking migrants from Turkey to Greece. June 5, 2017 Montenegro officially becomes a member of NATO. March 27, 2020 North Macedonia officially joins NATO. March 24, 2022 NATO leaders issue a joint statement at a summit held in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Leaders call on Putin to withdraw Russian military forces, and call on Belarus to end its complicity. They state that any use by Russia of a chemical or biological weapon would be unacceptable and result in severe consequences. March 24, 2022 Stoltenberg's tenure is extended by 1 year due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It will end September 30, 2023.